This is going to be a fun one. One of my mentors shared a prompt this week and when I saw it, I thought, oh, let's have a go. Let's try this because when she was sharing hers, it was so fun and fascinating. So I ran the prompt through ChatGPT and it came back with like some honest surprises. So I scanned through it. I'm like, oh, let's do a video about this and like really go. So it would have the prompt is asking, what is the most ridiculous question I asked in the month, and why is it ridiculous, and what truth did like came out of it? So let us go. So the first one in January, the most ridiculous question I asked this year in January was, am I actually ready for the next level, or am I just telling myself I am? Alongside as a sign language interpreter, I am also a speaker, trainer, coach, certified elite dual neuroencoding specialist, love attraction coach, quantum leap your life and business coach. So like I've done so many other stuff, and this year I decided in January that I'm going to focus more on the speaking side of things because I love to see the aha in people. I love to see that like those things like when you share ideas and concept that people haven't seen, or even if like a reminder, you can just see them light up or see like yeah, how they get to use it. And I decided at the beginning of this year to say I'm going to be a speaker. Like and I think that's where this is coming from. Like I'm actually ready for this next level kind of like thing. And he said, why this is ridiculous? It's because not because it's a bad question, but because you asked it after you're already doing the work, showing up, moving forward. And it's like asking if you're allowed to board a train while you're already seated and the doors are closing. And I just thought, yeah, I know, right? Very ridiculous. And he just said the gentle truth is you weren't lacking readiness. You were adjusting to visibility. So that was January. It's so interesting. And then now, February now. Okay. February, let me say the ridiculous question first. So in February, they said the most ridiculous question I asked was, is this program slash framework slash idea really aligned or am I forcing it? And I think this was like I created like a challenge. Like I've never done a challenge before, and I created a challenge and I brought people in, and it was before I did, I was like formulating like what that challenge is going to look like. It was going to be like a 10-day challenge, and yeah, and I guess this was me like getting myself ready, and it turned out so good, and there was so many breakthroughs that happened from that thing. And it said the reason why this was ridiculous is because alignment had quietly become another perfection filter. You were integral. I can't even say this word. Inter. Let's break it down. Integrate. Let me spell it. Interrogating. Interrogating, like investigating. Dyslexic. See, sometimes you know the word, you can, but you can't just sound it out to say it. But anyway, something that already is breathing on its own. I was like asking a question of something that's already happening, per se. And it says the gentle truth here is that you weren't trying to feel certain, or you were trying to feel certain before allowing momentum. Yeah, because it's something new. I've never done it before, and I'm bringing people into a space and the leveling up and all those things. So I guess yes, I can see why this was ridiculous looking back because of how much grown the people that were in the spaces and all those things that the juiciness that happened from that. So yeah, that's okay. I see how it's ridiculous asking that question. Now the most ridiculous question I asked in March was, can I really build something meaningful while still feeling unsure? Thinking back, and I think this for me was I was starting to act to bring something to the profession. Like the people I coach mainly are interpreters and translators who are in training, newly qualified, or a few years in, they're just like navigating those few years in of those uncertainties, things I call the tears of the dreams, the procrastination, overwhelm, fear of failure, fear of success, self-loathing, imposter syndrome, stress, overwhelm, fear of rejection, like all those things they're navigating that I feel like I'm bringing in something that isn't like the idea of skill is secondary and you really need to work on yourself was like primary. Was not something that was generally spoken about or something that people had to do. Oh yeah, you just need to build your confidence or just need to go do that more extra training and then that would happen. But I was coming from a different lens. And it said that the reason why this was a ridiculous question is because you were treating uncertainty like a disqualifier instead of a companion, as if confident people don't feel wobble mid creation. They do, they just don't put it on trial, which Nene was doing at the time, I guess. So you were mistakenly honest, you were mistakenly honestly, or your mistakenly honesty for stability. Let's read that again. You were mistaken honesty for stability. Right. Asking that question or trying to figure out, okay, am I, is this, I wasn't, oh my goodness, have I grown this year? Have I grown? April now. The question I asked, the most ridiculous questions, I guess there was more, maybe I need to ask the next prompt is like, what are all the ridiculous questions I asked? But anyway, in April, the most ridiculous question I asked is, why does this feel harder than it should by now? And I'm trying to brainstorm an idea. What was I thinking? Okay, let me see. They said the reason why this was ridiculous at the time to ask was because should had no evidence base. Okay, the word should had no evidence base. It was a ghost benchmark built from other people's highlight reels and not my own standard shaking hands. And instead, the gentle truth here is the difficulty wasn't a sign of failure, it was a sign of depth. I guess I was going for like, I'm here trying to say stuff, and it felt like I felt like I was doing too much. Or is that the right word? When I was speaking, people were just like, when we were like, oh, he's like, oh, okay, oh, maybe, huh? And it's like people weren't getting the concept, or maybe I wasn't using the right language because I feel like now I think I'm able to describe it better now. Whereas back then, what I was trying to say wasn't really landing. People weren't understanding that, okay, how I second guess myself might be this like how I saw myself, the stories I'm telling myself, or how I see things. And I guess I've evolved from that. So I guess at the time it felt so difficult trying to explain the reasons, or I was just more going or thinking instead of like maybe I was really focused on like what that gets to look like. I think I was just talking about them at the other end. So maybe that's why I was asking that question, why it felt harder to, by now, I should by now. Anyway, May. The most ridiculous question I asked in May was, am I explaining this clear, clear, let's do that again. Am I explaining this clearer enough or am I missing something obvious? Okay, this is still transition. It's like, I feel like people weren't getting what I was trying to say. I'm there explaining what I thought, like, this is it. Like, how you see yourself, how you see others, how you see the world really influences how you show up as an interpreter, as a translator, as you do your thing. It's not if you are skilled enough or if you've got enough experience or if you, all those things matter. It is there. It's like the fourth thing before you even get there. So I guess that's why I was asking myself that ridiculous question in May. Am I explaining this thing clear enough? Or am I missing the obvious? And then ChatGPT said the reason why this question was ridiculous was because clarity had quietly turned into self-surveillance. You weren't unclear. You were trying to preempt every possible misunderstanding. And it's so true. I'm one of those people that tend to like, until I get like acknowledgement from me saying stuff, I'll give you a different example and a different example. And I think one of the things I hope to grow out while doing this daily YouTube posting is to go clearer in my storytelling, in my message, in what I'm saying, because I'm not really getting any feedback per se because it's a video. But if I'm with live with someone, I will say something and I'll say it in a different angle, or give a different analogy, or give a different example. I'll say it and I'll say it and I'll say it. And I guess that's where this question came on from, like, am I explaining it clear enough? Like, are people get it? Because I wasn't getting the or it was just kept. I just felt like I just kept getting the stares. I won't get in the comments or the feedback. So I was just thinking, oh, maybe they're not getting it. Maybe I just need to say it that way. Yeah, that's where that came from. And the gentle truth that I got in May, it was you were carrying the emotional labor of other people's processing. So I guess it takes time for people to understand where I'm coming from or what I'm trying to deliver and stuff like that. And I just feel like, okay, do you get it? Are people like, what's the feedback on what I've just posted or what I've just said? I hang mostly on Instagram at the time, and yeah, and that was kind of like waiting for like, okay, you saw the story. Oh, you didn't. Yeah, that. We're in June now, and the most ridiculous question I asked in June is this the right strategy or am I being naive? Hmm. Okay, nothing's come to mind, but let me, like, so it said the reason why this was ridiculous was because you were confusing discernment with self-doubt. You were asking this while actively testing, refining, and responding intelligently. Looking back, I'm bringing something like a blue ocean conversation, like a new awareness, and you have and most importantly, not everyone's going to raise their hand and say yes. I do second guess myself, or I don't have that self belief, or I do say I'm not. No one's going to come in the comment section and say, yeah, that's me. I don't like that. But in the DMs, I get the conversations. I get that. Oh yeah, man. Me too. Or when I see people, when I'm out and about and I see colleagues, I get that. But in like on social, no, I ain't going to start raising a hand. So I guess then, like looking back at the time, I was like, man, am I like, is this thing landing? Is this making sense? Like, I can see people. You can tell people. You can tell the views. Sometimes they won't like, and that's okay. Like the people who really use your stuff don't always like. They just oh, I've been watching you for ages and years, and next thing like, yeah, let's do this. Oh, okay, I didn't know you continue. Yeah, I've had that experience, and yeah, it was. I guess for me, I was like showing up. People were like, oh yeah, I get your notification, I see your thing, I get a vid, blah blah blah, and but let's go to the next step. It's not happening. So I'm like, okay, let's change strategy. Let's do this, all these things going on. So that was what was happening there. And it says the gentle truth here is you didn't disturb the strategy, you disturbed ease. Yeah, I was just like uncertain, like just going and going, not like yeah. So interesting. In July, the most ridiculous question I asked was, why am I still triggered by this if I've done the work? And I think looking back, this came because I thought it was later. I didn't know it was back in June. I started noticing like I'm showing up, I'm consistent, I'm doing what, like what was said, and wasn't getting, how like people were like, you get feedback, you get responses, and then you can adjust and stuff like that. And I felt like, man, all the things I was just kept saying was like, ain't happening. No one's conversations are not happening, DMs in the DMs and all this stuff. And I think the way I work now is so differently. I was more forward facing and actually working on building those conversations in the DMs. And I guess the approach maybe wasn't landing. And I just started feeling some ways of like, okay, should we like jump ship? Because like, okay, now this is June. Like, is this interpreting thing? Is this our lane or like what's the deal? And Charlie said that the reason why this is ridiculous was because healing had been secretly framing as never reacting again, as if growth meant becoming smooth, neutral, and emotionally flat. And the gentle truth here in the month of June was you weren't unhealed, you were human with a nervous system. It was one of those things like you go to like events and stuff, or you have like your colleagues and people who are close to you who won't even act or say anything about, oh yeah, like I see you, like this is what's going on, or like and it's just like and it felt like you see me though, you like yeah, I got triggered by not necessarily like I wasn't getting support. It was just more I felt like a lone wolf or hmm yeah, it was becoming I don't know. I just felt like I was putting stuff out or I was like then starting to like maybe share in spaces that other colleagues were and you could feel and I think this comes back to me just being that like by how would I put it because it did say about the healing of they were gelling, everyone was doing this stuff, and I was like on my own lane, doing my own thing, or because this is like where I was so into building this that I wasn't really in the community or like that supportive space or thereabout. But anyway, August. The most ridiculous question I asked in August was, am I overthinking this? Or is this actually important? I can't actually think of what I was asking in August. What was happening in August? Yeah. Hmm. I think this is when I started like getting to the point of like I feel like I am seen, but and that fear of like I'm being seen but not chosen. And it's making me to do all these extra things of re-strategize planning or changing stuff and all those things and that fear of the of rejection as well, coming into place. Like as you level up, it's like new level, new devil kind of like thing. And now, I've done tackled all these things in interpreting world face work. And now as a coach, as a speaker, as a trainer, all these things are surfacing again. All these things are like happening. And I'm thinking, like, okay, how am I handling this thing? Oh my goodness, this is interesting. And I said the reason why this was ridiculous is because you already knew the answer. It was both. The important things are the ones you think deeply about. That's not path pathology. Pathology. That's care. And yeah, like the overthinking, yeah. And it was also important because I am doing something that, yeah, it's unique, you could say. And the gentle truth then was your mind wasn't the enemy. It just needed reassurance, not interrogation. Mm. Here comes September. The most ridiculous question I asked in September was, why can't I just decide and move on? Oh my dear. I think this was the season where was I trying to do then? I think okay, I I created a membership because my thinking was um a radical shift is in an instant. Transformation takes time. So once you've gotten the awareness of what it is that is holding you back and like what the thing is, if it's like self-loathing of self, or if it's like you second guess yourself, it's hesitation, or whatever that is, you've gotten that awareness. Now let's have a space where we can then start doing the work. Some people, research shows that it takes 66 to 365 days for a whole new belief habits locked in to happen. It varies. So for me, what would take, a couple of weeks could take someone else months. And I wanted to create a space where we would come in like I would have like different things depending on what you want. It was like this array of things there. And then we meet once a month, anchor in whatever it is. And the Q&A would have like like meditation things there, like journaling stuff and like really teaching tools you can use for different things. Like had all those like planned out and yeah, people weren't buying. Like no one was saying hi like that. And like, oh gosh, like maybe when we come back in the I would like be interested. And yeah, I just like, okay, should I just let go of this thing? Because I was bringing something that people hadn't truly understood, or they've not like, it was a case of, oh, I've just seen you and now I just want to, you want me to join a membership. Like, I'm not marrying you yet because we just said hi and now you want me to join this thing. And it was a case of like, okay, should I just end this membership? The advice I was getting from my mentors or like some other, like, it was just like, if this thing's not working, you've been doing this thing now for like a couple of months and no one's like really taking, and it's now time to just let it go. And yeah, why can't I decide to just let this thing go? Because it was just, I guess for me, it was kind of like how I wanted things. And it was like that's been like the goal. And I'm glad that I decided to just pause it. Of course, I'll bring it back once the momentum, the awareness, and people start saying, "Oh, then I need a space to really start the momentum of things going." Yeah, we'll come back. And then Charlie said the reason why this was ridiculous is because you weren't trying to use willpower or something that needed integration. Decision that sticks and force stays settled. And the gentle truth is you weren't indecisive. You were letting something land properly. So yeah. October, we're getting close. And October was the most ridiculous question I asked then was, am I responsible for fixing this or am I allowing to step back? What's this about? What did I ask in October? Am I responsible for fixing this or am I allowed to step back? I said why this was ridiculous is because responsibility had blurred into over responsibility. You were acting as if clarity, regulation, and resolutions were always yours to supply, excuse me. Am I responsible for fixing this? Ooh. Ha ha ha. I'm trying to think what happened back in October that I asked this question. Hmm. I think that was when I was in that space of, oh, I think I know what. Ah, that was this mismatch of should I go into a container that I could support, and I'm also having support in someone that I'm here, but there's this friction because I wasn't fully in and I was giving grace, and now I want to go somewhere else that isn't even um that I have to like, I know I'm not making sense. I'm not making sense of myself, but I think that's what this ridiculous question I asked back in October was. And then in November, um, so in November, uh, I had this, the question was, how could someone do something so irrational and unfair? Ah, okay, so basically, I was just reflecting because we got scammed. And I remember watching a program where w- where this people will phone in and then would say that if they don't like they'll phone in this vulnerable people, elderly or people that like, and this couple just moved in, they're from India, they came over to the UK, and these scammers who, funny enough, were calling them from India, were telling them that their bank accounts was compromised and that the only way they can sort themselves out is if they go and get gift cards after finding out how much they had in their account, to get the value of those gift cards so that they can then send it to them and secure the money. If not, it would get them in trouble. And then this, the, what do you call them? The interceptors, they've managed to tap into this line, found the number, able to locate the address, was sending agents to go to that location, find them, and just by the skin of their teeth, they phoned the people to say, stop them, don't let them get it. And they were like, they're gonna help. I don't know if the business just wanted the money. They said, no, just get gift cards in £100 each and just get 12 from here. Then we'll go somewhere else and get. And I'm like, in my head, like, you clock, like, why would someone tell you go to this place? Don't tell them why you're getting it. Then go to this place and go to that place. I'm like, when you're in that moment of fear and all those things, how you can be so vulnerable. Luckily, those agents, um the people that went to the location got there on time, stopped them. They still didn't believe them because they were still worried that these people, because they even phoned up. They found out like, okay, where are you at? And then they found the address of the local police agent, and they started acting as if, oh, we're calling from this police station. Yes, this person said da, da, da. They even went ahead and said, okay, we'll get a translator for you. My goodness, they had to physically take them to the nearest police station and for the police people to tell them, you're not in trouble, you're fine. Da, da. So watching that, I'm like, my goodness, how can people do that to another human being? So when this happened to us, we were going to get um, a gift, and the person posted this thing, and inside was a an empty orange juice has been drank. I'm like, are you not one? You're not thinking your DNA is in this thing, and a small bottle of water, and then saying it's posted. And I'm like, how? Then are you gonna say yes, I posted it? And like even one, two, the weight. And then when you look at the dimension of what we ordered and the box and like the two don't match. This is rectangular box you put this fake thing in. And then what we ordered is in this, I mean it's a square box. What we ordered need a rectangular long box. So when you even look at that alone, you would know that you didn't deliver you that that's not the thing. So we actually had an old one. We took a picture to show the box and sent it to some email and to say, and then we got our money back. But it was just kind of like, my goodness, people actually can just do this to another human being. Like, how crazy is this? And then it said the reason why they said this was a ridiculous question is because you momentarily assume the world would behave logically just because you do. I'm like, mm. And that's not naive. That's just briefly forgetting humans are humans, that people are crazy. And it was just like, wow. if we didn't take that prolonged action and I guess they saw fit, like, okay, they could not justify the weight of the thing, and like, and then you're wanting to say like this light thing that you could just shake rattle is the same as this. Anyway, turn around. I mean, I wasn't worried or concerned. It was just like, oh, gifts, and but yeah, that was what happened in that one. I said the gentle truth here is that the shock wasn't about the scam, it was about the value mismatch. Yeah, it's like, why would you, like, some people work so hard for what they have, and then for someone to just come and just take it off them, or you just have, it's like, people work hard for their earnings, and then to just scam people. Yeah. Anyway, that's that. Hey, finale. We're down to December now. And so far, the most ridiculous question, um, it says that I've asked in December is, why am I still revisiting this? I should be past, I should I be past it by now? And I think this one more, I don't think this was more personal. I think this was more like, when you're going into rooms, I've talked about in the previous video, where people are just like talking about stuff and like things that are happening on them. So they said the reason why this is ridiculous is because reflection has been mistaken for regression. End of year thinking isn't setback, is a natural reckoning point. Where I think I was just reflecting on how people saw themselves, when they look back on, like, oh, they should be further on by now, or things like that. And I guess for me, it was more, when people were reflecting, I was now reflecting that back then I um felt like, okay, I'm being seen, but I wasn't chosen, and all these things were happening. I had to do the work of really re-regulating my nervous system to the point now I have this conviction of like, okay, this is gonna like, stuff's gonna happen, and like things are gonna like plan out. And it says the gentle truth here is that you weren't stuck, you were just integrating the year of becoming. And it has been a year. Oh my goodness, how much I have grown, the anchored in myself, in like the like, the conviction of like, yes, this is possible for me too. Not like, oh wow, it would be amazing to be a speaker, to this, like, no, like it is gonna happen. Like the ahas that is happening, the realization of people understanding, like, yes, actually, I freeze when I'm doing this thing. Like I see them wave their hands and like I understand it, but I just can't get the right words. And like, okay, now what do we get to do? So yeah, that's happening, and things, people are shifting, and it's like, gosh, the questions you ask are just like, get it, like it's there, and it's, like having to be like this reflection and talking and like like, yeah, it's just reflection. It wasn't kind of like, well, I'm back in that old thinking or things like that. So it's been interesting doing this prompt of like, the ridiculous question. If you want the prompt, like let me know in the chat, or what would, like, what's your like ridiculous questions you looking back at yourself that, in interpreting now, or like, should I say, like, what's the most ridiculous thing that has happened to you in your interpreting journey or translation, or like working with people or things people said or whatever that is? Like, let's carry on our conversations in the comment sections. Like, what's been such a ridiculous experience that's shown up for you while you do your work out and about as we serve? Till tomorrow. Bye for now.